I'm not totally a shy person when it comes to speaking to a lot of people. I speak to a lot of people pretty often. Jeremy Narby is one of my big heroes. Same with Jonathan Ott. These guys can talk forever, and they're really complicated. They're complicated men. But I wanted to share with you a little bit of my own medicine before we really start. What I'm going to talk about is going to be brief because it's a lot of information. It's essentially my life's work. And it's not just with the Miskwedo, it's with all of the medicines in the boreal forest in the central area of Canada, kind of the center of North America. But the medicine that we should always share, and I wanted to make sure we shared, is the medicine of music, of song. And share, I would just want to share an eclectic song that is from the tunes from where I'm from, and to a hymn that my teacher in South America has taught me. And it's just going to be brief because we don't have a lot of time. Way yo hey yo hey yo ha. Way yo hey yo hey yo ha. Way yo hey yo hey yo hey yo ha. Way yo ha. Wella donkey donkey dee ma dee donkey dee ma dee aho. Way yo ha. Thank you. So I want to share, in Canada we have very few entheogenic medicines that scientists would actually know about, and that what they've charted and what they've recorded that Indigenous people would have used. In my area, I consider myself an Inuit or Anishinaabe, but you would call me Cree, and it's a political thing. That's why I'm a Cree ethnobotanist. The people in my area are very sick, and it's just getting worse. The youth are killing themselves, and it's horrific. And they're killing themselves, and they're killing each other. And it's not in a huge amount. It's just these small communities that I'm working in suffer tiny horrors, and they're such kind, wonderful people. Like in my community, mostly people suffer with what I call the sickness of shame. And the sickness of shame due to essentially colonization. These people are marginalized. I say colonization because I'm not sure if you've heard of residential schools, but a lot of people went to residential schools and were sexually abused. And then the sad thing about it is that many people have inherited that idea, this perversion, and they've passed it on from generation to generation to generation. It's 150 years of my people are sick. Now, in Canada, I'm considered a half-breed, and it's kind of a derogatory term. My mom is an Inuit. Her grandfather was Anishinaabe. And when we say we're Anishinaabe, we say that we're from the hole in the sky. It means we were lowered down from the area of the Pleiades, and we came here to do a job We came here to seed the earth, and then we go back to the spirit world. So I consider myself Anishinaabe. I came from the hole in the sky. And I only know this because I got sick myself. I suffered these sexual horrors. It's kind of like a ricochet thing that just happens. It just happens to people. But I was able to recover because I met Maestro Juan Flores Salazar in the Peruvian Amazon. I searched everywhere for a healer in Canada that would actually be able to help me. And like I said, everybody's very sick. So trying to find a healer to help me, it was near impossible. So I had to go to our brothers in Peru. Now I have a classical training in phytochemistry. I have my undergrad in anthropology. I'm a boreal forest archaeologist as well, not just an ethnobotanist. I tried to get a lot of knowledge behind me. And through my studies and through the stories that I've learned from my own culture, I have a story to share with you. Now, I'm just giving you the sad background because I got a little bit of a happy ending after. So I apologize for that. It's very close to my heart and it's very painful. But the maestro has helped me and my people to recover. And it's happening little by little. So this story, you could probably find it in a book called Magic Mushrooms by Clark Heinrich. We tell it a little bit differently. I don't know if the story is contemporaneous or if it's thousands of years old, but as a hard scientist and archaeologist, I would say that this story in my area could only be a few thousand years old, because where I lived, it was covered in ice 10,000 years ago. So when we're talking about entheogens of the area, there's very, oh yeah, we can go to the next slide, I'm sorry. Okay, next one. Back. Yeah, that's me flying to some of the northern communities. That's what I do for a living, essentially. That was my first trip to do aftercare for a community who actually went through a Camarampi treatment. Now, most people know it as ayahuasca, but my teacher taught me that Camarampi is the Ashaninga correct term. It means puking snakes, but now, which sometimes, but the indigenous folk who've had the medicine, we call it manituabo, which means the spirit brew, and it's been very helpful to recover a lot of people. This is some of the area that I go to, and this is one of the communities that I've gone to help people recover. This is what they call a bush camp. So this is 300 miles north of anywhere. This is very, very far away, and it's very cold, and we go into winter bush camps, and I haven't brought the Camarampi there or done any ceremonies here yet. I was just learning the terrain at the time. This is some of the work that I've done. I'm up a tree. I'm looking for chaga in Anotis obliquus. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. And, the people they're used to me climbing into some bushy area. But when we talk about entheogens and psychoactive things, as a phytochemist, I can see, I've analyzed a number of plants, and this one is one of my favorites. This is a sweet gale. And it really, borderline should be scheduled, but nobody really knows that. Like, scientists have no idea. It's just the Western medical model, we got a lot of work to do to catch up. Just like Jeremy Narby says, science and culture agree about the nature of nature, but they don't know it necessarily. So, yeah, next one. Yeah, this one is just cute because I hired a first aid bush practitioner and I'm actually being dragged on my back in the snow on a bough. Yeah, I wanted to share it just because this is what some of the goodness of the community is, and this is what I'm trying to encourage with the people. Okay, and then this is one in, I think it's called Flesh of the Gods. It's a book that says that this root that I'm picking, next one, this root that I picked This is a chorus calamus. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but in that book it says if you eat 10 inches of it, it's very psychedelic. It's very powerful. We don't use it that way though. Like it's very common for the people in the area, but we don't use it in that fashion. And I think I had 50 feet at that time, so you could imagine what we could do with that. Okay, so, oh wait, next one. Yeah. Now this is the species of Amanita, the Miskwedo, that lives in my area. Normally it's known as the red top mushroom, and I'm sure there was other presentations about the red top mushroom. But in my area, because there's a lot of pine trees like balsam fir and white spruce, it's quite the acidic environment, and it causes this type of color, this sort of spectrum for this plant. And now it still has ibotenic acid. You still have to go through the process of you drying it, and this guy just popped up kind of on the side of the road right in my yard. But I want to continue with the story. Oh wait, no, back. I want to continue with this story. It's just going to be as brief as we possibly can. There were two boys long ago, and their parents died during what they call the Great Migration. And there was older brother and younger brother. And younger brother was very excited about the world. Older brother was a little bit rigid because he had to take care of his younger brother. And they were walking in the forest one day, and they walked past this one beautiful meadow, and they saw numerous Miskwedos spinning. And so younger brother got excited, and he walked into the forest, and when he saw the Amanitas, there was one in particular that was huge, and it was spinning, and you could hear the humming of uncountable bees. That's what the book says. And and the boy became the mushroom. The boy touched the mushroom, became the mushroom, and older brother was very upset. He ran back to the village. He said to the elders and the medicine people, he said, "Oh my God, what do we do?" And they're like, "I have no idea what to do. I have no clue." So they had to ask the sacred drum. In my tradition, the drum induces a lot of these psychedelic states, a lot of these ecstatic states about the world. And so the elders asked the drum, we call it the dwagan, which refers to the heartbeat. That's what the word dwagan would refer to. And so they asked the heartbeat, and the heartbeat told them, older brother needed to go to the land to get a bag of sand, put it in a deerskin bag. Then he needed to go, okay, next one now. Then he needed to go find an eagle's nest of the greatest eagle. And the biggest eagle in the area would have been called Panasiak. And Panasiak is what they would call the thunderbird. The thunderbird, it's kind of like when you imagine the idea of the phoenix. It's a firebird. Next one. Now, when you're underneath an eagle's nest, it's treacherous. It's very treacherous. And this one was like an eagle condo. And so older brother goes underneath it, and it's full of plants that, like stinging nettle, if you know what that is, it just causes a lot of dermatitis because the eagles are sitting on top there, they're urinating, and there's all these beautiful plants coming. So he had to go through this whole area and then climb the tree and get 4 eagle feathers from the tail. And he was to take those 4 eagle feathers back to the meadow, and he was to place one of the eagle feathers inside of the chief Miskwedo. So the big Miskwedo that I showed you, the Amanita, it would be there's always one Miskwedo that comes up in an area the strongest, and then there's a second one that'll come. But usually the first one will come out in July in my area. And they're always the strongest because you can never tell the concentration of an Amanita, really. It's just the time of year you need to grab it. So the third feather was to go inside the medicine mushroom, and then before the boy leaves the meadow, he pierces the mushroom he thinks is his brother, and then he closes the meadow door by putting an eagle feather down. And eagle feathers are very powerful in my area. Not in my area, but they're very illegal to have for anybody but an Indigenous person to have. So you can't just go collect them. So younger brother did this. And what he was to do is to get the Amanita that he thought was his brother, pluck it at the bulb, and then run. So he placed the last eagle feather down by the meadow, and then ran. And as time passed, as he ran, his younger brother became heavier and heavier and heavier. And then it was like it was in the past, except he had one eagle feather protruding from his belly. So everything was great. He went back to the village. They continued to live in their ways, just however they could. And he goes outside the wigwam, which a wigwam is a birch bark building that we have. That's a traditional dwelling that we make. And outside of the wigwam, younger brother would go urinate in the middle of the night, and he would do this 2-3 times in the night. And one time he didn't come back, and older brother was concerned because younger brother is kind of flighty. And so older brother went out behind the wigwam to try to find his brother, but his brother was in the meadow with the Amanitas, with the Miskwedos. And he was standing, arms spread out, singing a beautiful song, and he was happy. And there were people around him, and they were all excited, and they were all happy, and they were all jovial. But older brother was depressed and sad and could not get it to his heart again. But younger brother could. So, younger brother said this, and this is the interesting thing, because as an ethnobotanist, we look at stories to find out how the plants actually work. He said, "I have come from the land of the Miskwedo. I have a cure to alleviate all of your ills, to take away all of your unhappiness. If you will only come to my penis and take a quickening of the waters coming forth, you too can be forever happy." I think that's a really exciting thing because, well, we'll talk in a moment. So younger brother is very happy. Older brother is very depressed. But everybody that follows the Miskwedo way, which they call the Miskwedo cult, are happy. They still don't understand why, like why the quickening waters heal them, why the Amanita itself heals them, and neither does older brother. He has no idea, but he has no faith. But younger brother still lives happy. So I live my life as younger brother. I have not drank the urine yet. I don't know if I would. But, so that's essentially the end of the legend. You can take the legend however you want to, but as an ethnobotanist, we look at that and then we try to, okay, next one. Yeah, when we look at that legend, we're just looking at the scientific history behind it. Now, the woman that released the story, her name was Keewadinoquay, which is, it's funny because I live in a little town called Keewatin, which means land of the north wind. So this woman was an Anishanaabeg Elder from my region, essentially. So the Amanita muscaria, as you know, the Miskwedo, ibotenic acid goes into the body, and then when you urinate muscimol or the active constituents that would cause these hallucinations or just modifications. But it also causes the strength of 10. It makes you very strong. It makes you very bright. Now, my husband and I, every year we pick between July and September, we pick these Amanitas, and we allow them to dry. They have to, I believe, decarboxylate, so they can't be, you can't have ibotenic acid because it'll break down your liver really quickly. But these are very light, the Amanitas, they're very delicate little Amanitas. I'm not sure of the strength of them even. It doesn't really matter because I don't drink them for the hallucination. I drink them for the strength and the vision and to actually have a way to learn in the world. And so the way that I learn in the world is that I ingest the plants and the plant tells me what it does. So the Amanita told me that it's traveled the world. And I had to look it up after, and I guess Amanitas, the species, are all over the world. The ones in my area probably were only there for maybe 6,000, 7,000 years because of the glacier recession of that time. So, 5 minutes, oh my God. So the most important thing here is that in Western medicine, the indigenous people do not trust the plants at all. I'm not saying at all, it's just on the whole, you will always go to the hospital or the nursing station to help yourself. You won't ever go to the plants. So I've been going to these communities so that we can go to the plants instead. I teach the people how to learn by drinking the plants, and that was from Maestro Juan Flores. And he saved my life. And so I needed to share that with others. There was a client I had that went through terrible addiction, and he was a leader in his community. And he had an effect on his whole community. And when he went down, I know that the support of the community, like they needed him. So he went into a treatment, Camarampi treatment protocol. He didn't eat salt, sugar, grease, and he drank the plants. He drank the plants that I've made. I have to skip it. That's Maestro, skip it. That's me brewing, skip that one. Okay, that's good. So I cook these plants, and a number of the plants that are in the boreal forest, nobody really knows, but they are psychoactive, and they do provide an effect. But the most amazing thing is that when the indigenous people drank the Camarampi, it was like it was second nature. They felt really great about themselves. They came back to themselves. So when all of these suicides actually happened, after they drank the Camarampi, maybe they did a month dieta, the images of the girls dying were not in their minds. There was a boy who was considered nonverbal, and he speaks now. Now, nonverbal, you may have talked to his cohorts, but he would never really talk to an adult. And when I talked to him 3 weeks ago when I was in his community, he told me, you know, he was still kind of sad about his life, but he wasn't depressed anymore. 14 years old, not depressed. These children have suicide pacts between each other because of all the terrible horrors that happen to people. And what I realized from working in the communities is that it's not isolated to remote villages. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So I sing the song for myself, but I sing it all for you, whoever wants to listen, because that's part of my medicine to help you to heal, because this is what I do. I'm full-time. I'm considered an ayahuasquera, curandera, but I'm mostly a medicine woman. And I just follow the teachings from my maestro, and it's been very good, and it's been so helpful for the people. I've been in 2 communities, and they're having great success. And I wish I could share the community names, and it's not possible because it's so fresh right now. But it's very exciting because we're moving closer to the entheogens that belong in the whole entire country. Next, and no. So this is just me, my sister, where my teacher's healing center is. And I'll be bringing a number of indigenous people here to heal. And this is the boiling river in the Peruvian Amazon, close to Anoria, Pucallpa, Peru. And the next one, just so I can share a little. This is at 18 degrees Celsius. It's a cloud. You're actually in a cloud. And that's it. And this is the river actually cools further upstream. So it's an anomaly in the place. I just like to share that this is Maiingunanung, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've been, and it's helping my people to recover in a very big way. So thank you.